so excited you all are joining me tonight to speak to the people. So I'll go ahead while we're waiting on people to come in, and let's go ahead and do introductions. I'm so honored to have my two guests. Both of them have been guests on here with me before, and so I'm happy to have them back. Up in the corner, we have Malika McCluster. Malika, do you just want to tell everybody who you are outside of your name? Anything? No, that's Malika, y'all. She gonna have enough to say, I'm sure. And then we have Kristen McWhirter. Do you want to say anything?
I'm Kristen McWhirter. I'm honored to be on with you once again to have these necessary conversations. So I'm just excited to be here with both of you.
Well, thanks for joining us again. I see my dad on here and Miss Brenda and Mom. Shanetta just logged in. Okay, so we got a good group. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So we kind of decided that we were going to do this this live tonight. I asked you all to join me on here again. And tonight it's very important to me. This is an area that I am very serious about, and I have a lot of experience in this area. And our topic tonight is dealing with change and uncertainty. Change and uncertainty. And so when we decided to do this and talk about change, I ended up adding the uncertainty part, and then I told them. But then when we got on here tonight, the Lord, I just talked to the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit kind of threw a little mix in there. So during 2018 and 2019, I had a signature message that I traveled I'm doing, and I did locally a lot, called Life Shifts, Thriving Through Change and Transition. And so when I was getting ready for this tonight, literally like 30 minutes before we came on, the Lord said, hey, don't recreate the wheel. You need to talk about what you've been talking about for 2 years. And so tonight is not just going to be a discussion like it normally is. We want you all to definitely talk to us in the chat. If I keep looking down, that's what I'm doing. I'm watching the comments in the chat. But I want you all to join us in there. But this isn't just going to be a discussion. This is going to be a little teaching going on as well. And so I hope that you are able to gain some valuable information, some valuable techniques. I am a business and I'm a life coach. And so tonight we're going to be giving some life coaching tools and resources that you can utilize in your day-to-day life to help you through change and transition as well, and uncertainty. And so we're going to go, I see we got Miss Joanne, Miss Joyce, Mike, Pam. Hello, everybody. I see a lot of people joining on, so I'm not going to go through all the names, but let's go ahead and get started. So one thing about life is you are guaranteed change. You're guaranteed change. I don't care how you look at it. You're going to go through it. And it was a quote that I used when I was doing my training. And the quote said, we can't be afraid of change. You may feel very secure in the pond that you are in, but if you never venture out of it, you will never know that there's a such thing as an ocean, a sea. Holding on to something that is good for you now may be the very reason why you don't have something better. And that is by C. Joy Bell C. And I don't know about you all, but that hit me like a ton of bricks the first time I read it, because that is so true. A lot of times when you don't want to change, and I might be going too deep too quick, but a lot of times when you don't want to change, you don't open yourself up to a lot of better things that could come your way. And so let's just get started. Let's start this off by asking, I want to ask the question, what is, and please in the chat, join us in there and give us your answers as well, because I'll be looking back and engaging you. But what is a life change that you have been through recently or in the past that's a big change for you that you can talk to us about? And either one of you can start.
Yeah, so I'll start. When we started thinking about this topic and thinking about change, one of the big changes that I had in my life was ending my marriage. And that's a pretty big event for most people. And so I think about that change and what it meant. And for me, what made it so difficult was that it would affect other people. And I wasn't unsure on how it would affect other people. Would it be, we had blended families and we have children. And so there's all these things that make that change very, very challenging. So for me personally, I can make changes when they relate just to me. I'm pretty good at those and I can kind of roll with it. And I'm not one of those people who is afraid to change when I make decisions, maybe if I'm making a decision on what to buy, or I'm making a decision on what car I want, or making, what job or career I want. It's easier for me to make changes when they relate to just me. Mm-hmm. It's more challenging when those decisions and those change affect other people around me. And so that is an example of a life experience that I had that was really a very big change for me and for my family and everybody around me. And so I had to navigate what I wanted and saw for my future and what I thought was necessary, and also balance how that change would affect those around me and how to navigate that.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And that's a huge change. And that's a change that a lot of people don't like to talk about. And that's a change that a lot of people don't make it through and don't come out of. And so we'll talk about that a little more shortly. What about you, Malika? You're on, hold on, let me unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So recently in the last 2 years, I have had 2 children. So in addition to the one that I already have, so I have a 12-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And I was, me and my husband for several years had been praying and believing God for that second one. But that third one was not thought about. It wasn't planned, at least not on our behalf, it wasn't. And so with my second baby, while the pregnancy was really good, the delivery was like a near-death situation. Mm-hmm. And it was really hard to get through. So when I got pregnant for a third time, it was almost devastating. Mm-hmm. Not for me, not physically desiring a third child, because honestly, I've always wanted 3 boys, but it was, if I have to go through what I went through again, I'm not going to make it out. Like there's just no way. And, but anyway, that ended up being, that delivery for my third baby ended up being a beautiful situation. So, it worked out, but just going from being a mother of 1 to 3, life-changing.
All young, and they're also young.
Yes, life-changing. The biggest thing for me is I experienced depression for the first time in my life. I experienced postpartum, and I had never dealt with anything of that caliber. Interesting enough, when I would know people who were depressed, I couldn't understand why they just couldn't get through it. I couldn't understand, just pray and believe God, just, get through it. Oh no, it's not that easy. It is definitely not that easy. And so just going through counseling, trying to figure out, because I knew something was wrong with me. I'm like, it's almost like an outer body experience. Like, why am I reacting this way? Why am I responding this way? Why is it that I feel myself not wanting to talk to the people who I love most in the world? What is all of that? And so having just to deal with that, on top of being a mother of 3, having 2 very small children, on top of being a wife, on top of being an employee, on top of being a boss to 5 or 6 other individuals, it was a lot to handle all at once. Then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been crazy, but I remember having a conversation with my grandmother. And she just makes things so simple sometimes. And I just kept saying, I just want to get back to myself. I feel so crazy. And, there's so many things going on. She said, Malika, you trying to get back to something that you never going to be. You're not going to be who you used to be. That was a mother of 1. You're now a mother of 3. Yeah. You need to figure out what your new normal is. And just like that, Grandma has solved all my problems.
She don't have enough grandmothers living.
Lord have
It's
mercy.
my grandmother. That was
I
good.
mean, yeah. I mean, and my grandmother is just full of wisdom, and we are very close. And, just with that one comment, and I'm like, okay, so I had to change my mindset.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I had to change that mindset and said, okay, Malika, you don't know what a mother of 3 looks like, but you need to figure it out. So I've been consistently changing over these last couple of years because my life prior to the pandemic required me to.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. That was good. That was good. And you said so many things in there that I wanted to dig deeper. You too, Chris. But I know if I dig deeper, we'll never get to the other pieces of it. So I'm going to let you all know, just according to what I know we're going to discuss, this will probably end up being at least a 2-part at least, because this is very important. And like I said, it's something that everyone goes through, something that everyone has to face, regardless if you want to or not. So it's going to take more time. One thing, let's see, we had a comment when we were asking about changes. Trinae Jordan, my dad, he said, putting family first. I know that's right. Took you long enough. No, I'm just joking. And he keeps saying putting family first, but I feel like personally, and I can't speak for him, I thank you for even going the extra mile, but I always felt like we were first for the most part, even when he was doing other things, that at the end of the day, his family came first. And so
Right.
I guess that's a personal conviction. So convict on, Lord. That means we give more time. So anyway, so Rowena says consistently changing. That's right. So here is where I'm going to go with this. So like I said, I'm going to kind of be doing a little teaching today. And one thing that's very important, and it took me reading something a couple of years ago that it clicked in my head like, wow, I had never thought about this. So a lot of times when you hear the word change and you hear the word transition, we think about it as being the same thing. We use it interchangeably. And the thing about it is change and transition are 2 totally different things. And so I'm going to be talking a little bit about the differences. So with change is situational. Change is something that happens externally, outside of you. Change means to make or become different. So when you're talking about change, you're talking about getting married. That's change. You're talking about having a baby. That's a change. You're talking about getting a new job, getting a new house, moving. That's a change. However, when you talk about transition is psychological. Transition is something that happens internally. And so for people, a lot of people don't understand. They like to say, okay, yeah, I'm going through a lot of changes. The problem is that you can go through changes without going through transition, but it's impossible to transition without going through changes. And when I learned that changed my perspective on a lot of things. And so I started digging a little deeper, going into, what the differences is. That's one thing about me. If I see a definition, I'm going to go deep into it. I want to break it down and learn everything I can about it. And so when I read the definition for transition, I was reading a book and they broke transition down into 3 phases. And it said a 3-phase process that people go through as they internalize and come to terms with the details of the new situation that change brings about. And so those are 2 different things. So change isn't, like we said, change is inevitable. You can't help it. You got to go through change. But transition is optional. You do not have to transition, but you have to change. Or things will change around you. You don't have to necessarily make the change. Right. But when things are changing around you, you have no choice but to change in certain areas. And so let me just hear, before I go on, I want to hear your thoughts about the differences between changing versus transition. Had you ever really thought about the differences, or?
The differences are dead on. It's exactly what you said. What I find to be interesting is that, you hear people say, man, I'm just going through so many changes. I'm going through so many changes. Interesting that you continue to go on the same changes because you lack the transition. And so, those two words are so very different, but you really need to have a transition with your change, or you're just going to keep going through the same. It'll just be more of the same. So I love this topic, actually, because we can go a lot of different in a lot of different ways with this.
And I agree. And it goes back to something that Malika said, you know, change, a lot about change is the mindset. And so I like one quote that says, change is a process, not an event. And I think a lot of people have the mindset, well, I'm just going to make this change. This event happens and I'm good. Oh, it's like you said, we have to transition. The change is not just getting that job. Now you have to figure out, what do you do about your old job? How do you get accustomed to your new job? You know, there's these phases that you have to go through with change. There's not just this one-time decision or this one-time thing, but it is, how do you transition? How do you handle, and how do you think about, what is your mindset about the change that's happening?
Which is that transition. And so now you're into transition. So by the time you get there, you bypass that change, because the change is going to happen whether you like it or not. You can't change the fact that you got fired and lost your job. You can't change that, but you can change the fact that you're not going to go blow up the building. You can't change the fact that you're not going postal. You know what I mean? And so I definitely think that is, you cross now over into the transitional process, the psychological. And so thank you for that. I just got to address this. So in the comments, first of all, I think I gave my daddy too much credit, because I said that he said that he was putting his family first. TJ said that was not daddy, that was me. So that was my brother. So my daddy has not made that transition yet. He made a change, but he has not transitioned yet. And then dad said that was not me. Let's see. And so TJ, I apologize. He said, I've changed from being everything to everyone rather than being me to myself. That's good. That's good. Okay, so moving on. So with change versus transition, this is the example I like to give when I'm doing this training. I like to talk about life shifts. That was the name of the training, life shifts. And you can play a role in the outcome of your change and transition, but the one thing that you can't control is the shift. And that's so true. When I think about the shift, I think about an earthquake. And I think about how when an earthquake comes, an earthquake shakes up everything in your life. Like, it shakes everything. So it goes from being a change to literally shaking everything up to being a shift and causing you to have to make a lot of those changes that will hopefully send you into transition. And so it was a quote that I have in here, and it said, it isn't the changes that do you in, it's the transitions. Change is not the same as transition. And once again, change is external, and transition is internal. So let's talk about some of the signs that you're heading for change or needing to change, because a lot of times people can't identify when things need to change. You know, they don't start dealing with change until change presents itself. So let's talk about, how do you know when it's time for something in your life to change? And you all too, in the chat.
Oftentimes for me, when I get too comfortable. When I get too comfortable, I'm like, same thing, same routine. Let me do something different. And for me, that could be something simple as, I have curly hair one day, but then I got blonde braids the next. I just need to, I'm too comfortable. This is too boring. I have to do something. That's sometimes when I know I need change. Or if I see, if I'm, maybe lacking in a certain area, whatever area that could be, but it's not making me feel good. I'm thinking, okay, I need to, change in that area as well. Like I said, I've been changing a lot. So,
That's good.
Yeah, for me too, it's when I'm uncomfortable, or when something is not matching up with what I have from goals and ideals that I have for my life, and it's not matching up. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's time to change something. Maybe what I'm doing is not aligning with what I say goal or my end, desire is. And so when I constantly see that, that kind of triggers me, like maybe it's time to make some type of change or transition.
That's good. That's good. Jamila in the chat said, the major changes for myself was becoming a mother all over again at 40 and a grand diva at 44. Now that is a major change. Jamila, I want to
Yes.
know how did you adjust to that? Like, just give me a little more in the chat. I really want to know how you adjusted to that, because that is a big change. You know, have 4 years later becoming a grandmother when you have a 4-year-old child. I want to know how you did with that. So
That's a major change, because
Yeah.
I became a young mother at the age of 20. And so, you know, my children are just now, you know, starting to be, I call them mini adults. They're my mini adults. They're not quite all the way there, but they're getting there. And I see other, you know, mothers like Malika, you know, having young children. I'm like, I don't know how they're adjusting to that change.
I don't know how. I don't know how. It is all by God's grace. You hear me? This is the most challenging. Raising children at 4.
Malika,
Y'all just pray for me.
Malika, I'm 39. I have not had my first one yet, and you on your last one talking about
Let me
age
tell
40.
you something.
Now
Let me
y'all
tell you
scared
something.
me.
Let me tell you something. And I tell people this. I had my first at 29. I know the difference. You ain't gonna know the difference. You just gonna be like, oh, okay, you know, I'm a mom, whatever, I'm young, I'm tired. That's normal. But when you have one at 29 and then you have 2 more at 39 and 40, oh boy. Oh boy.
Bless you. Bless you.
Oh Lord. It's a difference. But you'll be fine. You're fine.
Thank you. Prayers needed. So Julia Brown says, when I get in the habit of routine instead of living and enjoying life. That's excellent. So for me, I know that I need to make changes when I start having this deep sense of discontentment. Pretty much what you said. Like, I start feeling anxious, or I feel like something needs to change. I don't know what it is, but something just don't feel right.
Yeah.
For me, I always lose, like, I have a lack of motivation and energy.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I have no energy to do anything.
Yeah.
Nothing really excites me. It's just like
Yeah.
the same mundane thing. I feel disconnected from people. I feel disconnected from life. I don't feel like myself. Like you said, I don't feel like myself. Everything gets on my nerves. Everybody starts getting on my nerves.
Yeah.
Like, I get annoyed. I mean, it's a lot of things. And it took me a long time to really start identifying those things that kind of, you know, help me to know that it's time to change something. But the biggest thing is just I have this lack of fulfillment. I have this lack of fulfillment, and that's how I always know it's time to change. And so I want to talk about signs that you're heading for change or needing to change. I kind of talked about my feelings of it, but I want to add a couple on here. When old wounds, addictions, or avoidance patterns become worse or harder to deal with. So if someone maybe has a glass of wine every now and then they start drinking every night for whatever reason, if you have a bad habit and it just continually and gradually gets worse, that's a sign that you might need some kind of change. No, it's definitely a sign that you need to change some changes. Old wounds, when old wounds start being open, then you need to really pay a lot of attention to that, to ask yourself, why is this still hurting me after all this time? Like, what is it? What triggered this emotion? Tired of doing the same old thing and desire something different. I said that. And a growing need to simplify life and have more fun. Okay, so let me go on there, because that is a good one. So for me, I hate saying this in public, but I'm a hoarder. But I hate saying hoarder because when people hear hoarder, they always think of the people on TV. I am not that kind of hoarder. Okay, I like totes, I like bags, I like all kinds of stuff.
But you're an organized hoarder?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, organized hoarder. And so, but for me, I decided not long ago that I had been thinking about it for a long time, but I said, I'm going to be a minimalist, because I had gotten to the point where I just had so much stuff. I got tired of looking at bins. I got tired of looking at labels. I got tired of looking at stuff. And I got to the point where I said, even my storage, like, if it burnt down today, I probably wouldn't even be able to tell you but 3 things is in there. But when I go, I need everything. Exactly. And so I decided that I was going to be a minimalist. And so I started trying to get rid of stuff, and everything I picked up, I put right back. I said, oh, that meant something. And I kept it. And I realized, okay, this isn't for me. But what I did start doing is I saw a tip and it said, okay, when you have this issue, so on day 1, on say it's September 1st, get rid of one thing. September 2nd, get rid of 2 things. September 16th, get rid of 16 things. And so I have to start doing steps like that. But every time that I actually threw something away, gave something away, I felt so liberated. And I just felt, and that's why I know, like, it's the clutter, it's the things around me that has my mind just full, you know. And I know I just felt like I needed something simple.
Mm-hmm.
You bring up a good point that I wanted to mention, and we hadn't really got there, so maybe going ahead. But one of the things that keeps people stuck from making changes is that they try to do too much at one time, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to eat the whole elephant, I think is the way I've heard people say it, instead of just maybe making those small action steps. I talk to caregivers. We talk a lot about making goals, but making them smaller, actionable steps, you know? So what can I do for the next 7 days? So like in your example, yes, you are a hoarder, organized hoarder. So it'd be hard for you just to get rid of all of your stuff. But you could do tips like you just said and say, okay, what can I get rid of this week? And what can I do this week? So just, that's one of the things I think that keeps people stuck from making change. They try to make a huge change rather than how can I just break this down and take baby steps towards that change.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Sometimes we know we need to change, but we don't know what to change. We're stuck. And so I was explaining to my husband earlier today, and I hadn't shared it with him, but for the past, maybe 6 months, I've been looking at myself in the mirror, not for grooming purposes, literally looking at myself in my own eyes in the mirror. And I asked my husband, I said, do you know how hard that is to look at yourself in the mirror? Like really look at yourself, just me and God. What is it? What is it that's bothering you, Malika? Why are you so frustrated? Why are you not fulfilled? What are you lacking? And I've had to really go deep and ask myself, what are the issues? And the more I'm able to really pinpoint certain things, I'm able to make changes because I'm changing my habits. Yeah. So I can change my lifestyle because I'm changing my habits, but I have to get to the core of what that change needs to be. Once I begin doing that, I've been changing all kinds of things. And I feel like I've been going back to the organized hoarding because I too have that problem. But since I've been really trying to figure out, you know, what it is in my life that I need to change, it's feeling like a purge. And so now, so Dewan, I have stuff from high school, and I shared with you that we just recently relocated. So on top of having things from high school and on top of being married for 12 years, could you imagine the things that I have? I have a bunch of stuff from college, and I was going through things, and I said, you know what, Malika, you need to get you a little box, and everything that truly means something to you, it goes in that box. When the box starts to overflow, that's it. Because why do I have all this stuff? Like, what is it? Yes.
Doesn't work for me.
Yeah. So I am like really purging, but I think I can start to declutter what's in the physical because I'm starting to declutter what's in my what's in my spirit, in my inner. So
that's good. And so I'm gonna move on from this in just a second, but just for the thing about, okay, so with the hoarding piece, just getting rid of stuff, because I feel like it goes outside of just material things. Getting rid of stuff means getting rid of baggage, getting rid of emotional wounds, getting rid of things that people said to you when you were a child that damaged you. You know, getting rid of things it's more than material things. And so I had actually, when I was going through that process, I can't think of her name, but she wrote Spark Joy. And she goes to this thing where like, you're supposed to look at stuff as you're cleaning up. And if it does not spark joy, you're supposed to get rid of it. I tried that, but everything sparked joy. I'm like, oh, those are my socks when I was 6. Everything sparked joy. So that didn't work for me. But I ended up finding a book called Shed. And her last name is Morgenson. I think it's Sarah Morgenson, if I'm not mistaken. But in this book called Shed, it's a difference, she says, between decluttering. And this goes back to life too, decluttering and shedding. Decluttering means kind of, you know, going through stuff. A lot of times it could be organizing it. but shedding means getting rid of things.
Yes.
And so in this book, she actually takes you through the process of what does this mean to you, and gets to the core on why certain things is hard to get rid of. Like, what is it doing within you? You know, why can't you get, and what I found is a lot of times it has nothing to do with the item at all. It's the memory that I'm trying to hold on to.
Yes.
It's the memory.
Yes.
And so anybody, I think if you have this issue, I think that that's an excellent book. It's called Shed. Go check that out. Jamila responded. She said, well, it was different and a blessing at the same time. My daughter and granddaughter became my balance. I thank God for them. They have made me grow all the way up. Yeah.
Wow.
They say those kids will do that.
Yes, they will.
Anya said, the one, that's how it starts. Mind your business. Ternay, Dad said, what? Speak, Lord. I think he's referring to me admitting that I'm a hoarder. Ternay Jordan Jr. says, progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. That is so true. Let's see. Jamila said, I have 2 sons, ages 21 and 12, and my daughter is 4, and I'm a single mother. Wow. Okay. Dad said, this is really good. Thank you. So this is what I want to do now. What time is it? 7:48. So we got a good amount of time. So when we're talking about transition, there are 3 phases of transition. And like I told you, I love studying stuff, and I love models. I love when I could see a chart and I could see how it's broken down and hierarchy and that kind of, I love it. And it's this model by William Bridges, and it's called the transition chart. And it talks about 3 different phases of transition, and there's 3 different phases. The first phase is endings. The second phase is the neutral zone, and the neutral zone is the in-between time. And then you have phase 3, which is beginnings. And I love the way he breaks this down because it's so true. So we're going to start off talking about phase 1, which is endings. And endings is when you lose something, whether it's letting go, ending it on your own, and then letting go of the old ways and old identity. Endings are necessary. Let me say that again. Endings are necessary. So many people hate for anything to end, but they are necessary. Choose or be forced to let go. You have to choose to let it go, or you're going to be forced to let it go. And I know that to be true. And ending can be a lot like death. And I think that all of those things are right on point. I think that in order to, I don't think, I know that in order for anything new to begin, something has to end. It goes back to like the seasons. At the end of right now, all of the leaves are starting to fall off the trees, or getting ready to start falling off the trees and everything. And the trees will die. But then in a few months, they'll have new leaves. They'll be back beautiful as ever again. And so in order for that beauty to come again, something had to die. Anybody want to kind of just go a little deeper on that? Just with change in life.
I think again, that's one of the things that trips people up, is that, you know, it may be a necessary change. It may be that the end result is a good thing, but you have to recognize, like you said, there's an ending to something else. So it's not always rosy. It's not always feeling good and positive. Even if the change is resulting in something you want, there's still that ending phase, or that initial phase that you, maybe even a grieving phase, that you have to go through. And I think that's what trips people up so much, and they get caught up in maybe that stage of regret. And like, well, I regret that I went out and made this change, because they're not seeing the end result, or they're, you know, mourning the old while they're trying to get over to the new. So I think that's a good example of just that it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to feel good, but that doesn't mean it's not going to work out for your good in the end.
I think that's good, because endings can be, it is grief. And a lot of people think that you can only grieve people. No, you can grieve a lot of things. You can grieve marriages. You can grieve children that are still living. You can grieve a lost opportunity. There are a lot of things that you can grieve, and people don't understand. And then in grief, there are a lot of phases to that. You go from denial all the way down through the list to acceptance. And all of that. And so that's good. That's good. The next thing now to me, okay, so when I was younger, my biggest thing, I think the hardest thing for me was the endings. The endings was the hardest part because it was like I didn't want to let it go, or it wasn't necessarily I didn't want to let it go, but I didn't want to let it go because I had uncertainty to what was next.
Right.
You know, if I could see what was coming, I could have let it go. Like if just say going through a breakup, if I was going through a breakup and God said, girl, let this man go now, because in 5 years, I'm gonna send you one that look better than him. He, he treats you better than him.
Right.
All that other stuff. He has everything you want. The girl, I would be like, hey, bye, a long time ago.
Right.
But when you don't know what's to come, it's hard to end those things. And so when I started looking at things as, in order to end this, in order for something to begin, I have to end this. And I truly believe, and this came with my maturity in my faith, is I truly believe that when the Lord tells you to let something go, when the Lord tells you to end something, you best believe that upgrade coming through way better than what you let go. And I have seen that time and time again. I'm not just talking about relationships. I'm talking about job, anything. Yeah. If the Lord says let it go and you're doing his will, he's not going to allow you to get something worse down the road.
Yeah. That's good. I agree with you. When I was younger, it was always that ending. I have a problem with letting go, specifically with people. Specifically, I had grieved all type of friendships. Oh my gosh. But as I've gotten older with maturity and the more that I've walked with the Lord, I always know that whatever the enemy meant for bad, God means for good. And I always look at every situation like that. There is an image that I'm pretty sure that both of you guys are familiar with. Some years ago, I would see this image pop up on social media, and it was a picture of a little girl. She had a teddy bear, and I want to say it's Jesus in front of her, right? With the big one in the back, and he's like, trust me. When I saw that, it literally changed my life. It changed my habits. Like I said before, my habits have begun to change, because every time I think, oh God, I don't know, he puts that image right in my mind. And I'm like, you know what, God, I trust you. Yes. I trust you. I don't know what's coming around that corner, and I feel super crazy right now, but I trust you for exactly what you said. He has shown me time and time and time again. And so now it's almost like, girl, like if you don't trust him, like what's wrong with you, Malika? So yeah.
That's good. That's good.
And that's
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what I normally think about is like, I try really to be very intentional in not using the word regret from me personally.
Yes.
It's always everything, no matter if it's good or bad, that God has taught me to, there's a lesson for me. And so I always try to ask myself, God, what am I to learn here? Or what didn't I learn? Because again, and so it's having that reassurance that he is, if we are faithful, he's going to help us get through it may not, like you said, we don't know what's on the other side. It's going to be better on the other side. Just figure out the lessons on the path. You got
to trust the process. You got to trust the process. Have complete faith in that process. No matter how it makes you feel, you got to trust that process.
Girl, it's hard sitting here. I'm ready. I'm ready to get up, girl. I'm getting anxious now.
Hey, it's real life out here, man.
It is.
This is real. We are women of a certain age that now, I don't know about y'all, but like literally for the last 2 or 3 years of my life, it's been # growing pains. Like those conversations I'm having in the mirror with myself, my quiet time with God, like now I'm running to get that quiet time. I'm like taking a shower. It might be my 3rd shower today. Mama gotta take a shower. No, I need to go talk to Jesus. I need some quiet time. So now I'm seeking that, because I'm like, Lord, this is different. It's a different time. It's a different season in my life. I'm a woman of a certain age now. I desire to have certain things and be in certain, positions. And so I'm like, what's going on? But I just have to know, like, he got me. He always have. And I just fully have to trust that process. Cause like I'll get anxious, like, and I'm a planner. So I try to plan everything. And the biggest thing that God showed me in these last 2 years, like, girl, you ain't got your life under control. You ain't see that third baby coming out, did you?
Yeah.
All right, Jesus, you got it.
So I'm going to go back to that picture that you said about the teddy bear. So I literally post this picture on my Instagram at least 2 times a year or once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Because it means that much to me. Like,
Yeah.
when I get like to the point, okay, so my spiritual gift, my number one spiritual gift is faith. It's been like that since I can remember. The first time I took it, it's faith. And I think my faith is off the chain. And I'm getting nervous to say that because when you start saying something like that, I start making you prove it again. But hey, my spiritual gift is faith. And so my faith is like off the charts, but my faith has been built through my endings.
Exactly.
Every time that my faith has been built, it's been through the ending and that thing I'm gonna talk about next, that in between. And so for me, I've gotten to the place where I no longer ask God, if God said it, it's going to happen.
It's done.
Like, it's done. So my question is not, Lord, are you going to do this? I get excited wondering when it's gonna happen. I'd be like, oh, Lord, how you gonna do it this time?
Right. When you do it.
When. It's not if, it's when. And so that just leads to, we're not gonna get through all this tonight. This just is getting good. Let me go to the chat real quick. So we have Keisha. She said, sometimes people fear change because of the unknown on the other side, or they are scared of what growth will bring. That is so true, because so many times a lot of people who don't want to change, they don't want to change or they don't want to grow because they're afraid of who they will have to leave behind. Because you're going to have to leave somebody behind.
And also scared of that more, responsibility or, because when you grow, then you are, you more people, more eyes,
I've experienced that. Knowing what God has called me to do in some areas of my life, but not necessarily wanting accountability. And then I have to say to myself, like, what do you don't want to be held accountable for? You're not doing anything now. But then it goes deeper than that. It's not just what you do, it's what you're saying, how you're treating people. Now, I don't have an issue with treating people wrong, but just being convicted on the things within me.
Right.
And so, that's a whole nother thing. So let me see. Tanae, TJ said transition is one way that God promotes us. Yes, he does. Miss Gail said, amen, been there. First marriage, had to let it go in order for me to grow. It was hard, but I started to see why I had to let that go. Faith, and then you ladies are blessing a lot of people. Thank you. And it's not that we're blessing a lot of people. God's blessing a lot of people because of what he's allowed us to go through. And, it's so hard when you're talking to people, especially when they're going through, and I said this on another live with my line sisters, when people are going through things, especially, things that are really hard, there is nothing sometimes that you can say to them that is going to make them feel better. Nothing. There is nothing that you can do. There's nothing you can buy them. There's no place you can take them. It's going to make them feel better. And sometimes you just have to be their strength when they feel like they have none. Sometimes you have to be able to pray for, not sometimes, you have to be able to pray for them when they don't have the strength to pray for themselves, when they don't have the words to pray for themselves, when they don't even have the desire to pray for themselves. And so I just think that, whatever doesn't kill you, I used to hear that all the time, makes you stronger. I would like to add, if you allow it to, because that's not true in everybody's situation. It makes you stronger if you allow it to. So let's get to this next one, because this is the favorite. This is the favorite one, because I feel like this, now that I'm older, is the hardest for me. It's not necessarily the endings anymore. It's phase 2, the neutral zone, which is the in between. The in between is when you're in limbo between the old and the new. The old is gone, but the new is not here yet. It's not fully operational. You know what God said, but you don't have it. It's not in your hands. You can't touch it. You can't see it. It's a confusing place. It's a scary place. In that place, it feels like a lot of things are like things are falling apart. And it's a quote that says, when things feel like they're falling apart, sometimes they're falling into place.
Yes.
And this is that place. This is the neutral zone where that quote makes sense. So tell me, the neutral zone for you, that in between, how have you felt when you have been in this in between, in this neutral zone?
It's driving me crazy because I'm in it right now. It's driving me absolutely crazy. I mean, 1 minute I think I'm good. Like, all right, I lack patience. That's mother of three. I lack patience. Right? And so there's a point where I'm like, okay, I'm good. I know what God has said. I'm here. And then like 24 hours later, I'm like, come on, God, like really? Like how much longer? I got to do this. What I have found myself doing more recently is, as I'm in between these stages of where I have been and where he wants me to go, I'm thinking, what can I currently work on right now that will kind of distract me from the waiting process? And I can find a lot of things. So I try to find good distractions to kind of hold me over, because what I don't want to do is go back.
Right.
Because I'm not trying to go back, but if I'm in limbo, I might, but I'm like, no, let me just stay here so I can move forward. But it's a frustrating process. But I will also say this, I am in the best process of my life. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And because of that, I'm very excited. But it does work a nerve though.
It's preparation time.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. It is I think the human side of us that struggles with this part and being patient. We know what he's promised. We know it's coming, but we're kind of like sitting back like, okay, God, how much longer can we get now? What are we going to do? And then I always worry about, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to stay focused. I'm trying to stay, like you said, trying to stay dedicated, trying to, do right while I'm waiting for what God has for me. And so I'm just like, okay, I got, so it's hard and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And for me, I think, like I said, when Malika was talking, I've had to view it as preparation time because I know what God said. So I'm not worried if it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen when. I just got to make sure that I'm disciplined enough to wait for the win. Because
the discipline.
When you think you don't know, and so it's having discipline. And so the way that I've been getting through it and have gotten through other situations is I look at it, what am I supposed to be doing right now, God? And when I start focusing on what I'm supposed to be doing, how I'm supposed to be better, the things that I'm supposed to be taking care of, it makes that waiting process a little easier, because now I'm like, hold up, God, hold up, wait a minute, I thought I was ready, I ain't ready yet. Give me a little more time. I thought I had this together, but obviously I need a little more time.
Right.
And so for me, I think viewing it as the preparation time has been helping me through those transitions. Miss Sydney said, it's faith. You just have it even when you can't see it, but it's coming. That's right. Miss Ballard said, I've learned to be still and let God lead me in prayer. That's good.
Yeah, and reflecting, like Malika said, sometimes what helps in that in between is just remembering where you were and not wanting to go back, and then just also focusing on what he has for you. So sometimes it's just being still and thinking about that helps.
Yeah. And it seems like it lasts forever, but it's the most critical place. This is the place that God aligns everything, and so a lot of times when you're looking at that, I'd be looking too, when I'm like, okay, Lord, I'd be like, okay, so that's not ready. So it's not ready for me, not necessarily I'm not ready for it, because I can get myself in my head and be like, girl, you're ready for it. But then I may not be ready, and I know that it's a process, because if you go from here to here and you haven't gone through each step, then when you get there, you won't be able to sustain it. You won't be able to stay. It's a quote that says, people can get you in the door, but character keeps you there.
Right.
It's the same thing. Like, I can get there, but will I be able to stay? Will I be able to maintain it? Will I be able to stay there without losing my mind and losing who I am?
Yeah.
And so I think this in between, the biggest thing would be fearful is being, once again, uncertainty, not knowing. And let me just say this. The neutral zone is where you get comfortable a lot of times.
Yeah.
And the biggest mistake you can make is getting comfortable in the in-between.
Yep.
Getting comfortable in the neutral zone. So, of course, I didn't say anything about it in the beginning, but we know we're here because, my Story Mondays came because I'm writing a book. Lord, y'all pray for me on this book. This book really been done forever, but I think it's saying working on me or something that just will not allow me to I don't know what it is. This book must gonna really impact some lives because it's been a long time coming, and it's just something that I'm just like, not yet. So pray for me on that. But I have a chapter in this book, and it's called Comfortable in the Dark. Comfortable in the Dark. And in this story, I talk about when I went to the bathroom one day, and when I cut on the light, my closet light came on, but the bathroom light didn't pay much attention to it. The next day I went in there, turned on the closet light, the bathroom light came on. Didn't call an electrician, didn't really deal with it. I was busy, I had stuff to do. So the next day I came in and I cut on the bathroom light, and the Jack and Jill bathroom light came on. And this went on for days, where it was to the point like they were flip-flopping, until the point where all the lights just didn't work one day. And so when all the lights stopped working, I was busy. I had too much going on. I didn't take the time to call someone to come fix it. And so what did I do? I started getting comfortable and making myself comfortable in the dark. So when I need to take a shower, guess what I did? I got my cell phone. I got that flashlight. I set it up in the shower and I showered. Then when that got hard and I started bumping my toes and stuff, I started bringing lamps into the bathroom and putting them in the closet to make my time in the dark more comfortable. Okay. And so what happened was I got to the point where it went on for so long. I was like, let me just get this fixed. End up getting it fixed. It literally took them like 30 minutes to fix it. It just needed a new switch. And when they came to fix it, it was working. But the next day I went in and I didn't cut on the light, but I used my cell phone. I still was using the lamps, even though the light worked. And the thing is, I had only been without lights for a couple days, a week or so, but because I had gotten used to operating and gotten comfortable, even when light was available, I still operated in the dark. And even when I thought about, girl, you can turn on the light, it was always like, I'm already into it now. Ain't no need to turn on the light now. I'm almost done. And so the point of me saying that is a lot of times, instead of doing what we need to do to fix things up front, we wait. Now, first of all, the flicker, the first time it did that, I should have been calling to get some help or trying to fix it, but I didn't. And so when you get comfortable in the dark, it becomes easier and easier and easier to stay there the longer you're there. So I'm not going to give the whole book away, the whole chapter away, but have you felt that in your life? Kind of according to what I just said, the times that you've gotten comfortable in the dark?
God, yes. Often I have been comfortable in the dark. And I really had to, again, talk to God about that. Like, why is it having these hard conversations, with myself, why is it that you need something or you desire something? It's not even going to take any certain amount of abundance to get what you need or want. Prime example. I told a good friend of mine, I said, I need to go and get just a white t-shirt, just a V-neck white t-shirt. I mean, I can go to Ross and get one for maybe $6. I don't know. I mean, anywhere. Why haven't I been? Why? I have gotten so comfortable with neglecting myself. Oh, but if it's for somebody else, I'm trying to
Yes.
Oh, it's for somebody else. I don't care if it's my husband, my children, my coworkers, my friends, I don't care who it is. Oh, I'm about to show out because it's for somebody else. But for Malika, I can't go get a $6 shirt from Ross. Mm-hmm. There's something deeper there. And those are the conversations that I have to have with myself. Like, girl, come on, Jesus, let's talk. Because I'm not understanding. I have all the means to go get a shirt. And I'm just using that as an example, but I have all the means in the world to go get a $6 shirt. But I'm comfortable with not having my needs met or my wants met. Okay. Let's talk about that. I think sometimes as women, we do that anyway, but it comes to a point where self-care and self-love has to be implemented a little bit more. It really does.
Yeah.
It has to become a priority.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
But why is it that we're so quick to do things for other people and not ourselves? I mean, I know you said that's something that you're dealing with daily. Something I deal with too. Like, I can have something I need to do and I keep putting it off, but let somebody else call me. I'm going to stop what I'm doing to do it for them.
Yeah. For me, I think, I'm the oldest of 4 daughters. Being the oldest, you carry responsibility. So for me growing up, it was, Malika, help with your sisters or, whatever. So just naturally in me, I'm always tending to someone. And I actually don't mind. Like I like to help people. I like to be there for people and do whatever I can to make them happy. So I think for me, it was a routine that my parents needed me to help with when I was younger. But as I grew up and went on to college and different things, I never broke it. I just never broke that routine. And so now I find myself at almost 42 years old, asking myself, like, why are you not doing this for you? I was just talking to my best friend the other day and she was like, you don't do enough for yourself. You need to do things for you, do things that you enjoy. And she was right on point. I couldn't get mad or, say anything. She is right on target. She knows me. And she's like, I'm concerned about this area of your life. Like, you need to do a little bit more. But I love that I have someone who knows me like that, though, to be able to call that to my attention and be like, hey, don't you get lost in being somebody's wife and mother and boss and all this other stuff. Like, what's going on with you, Malika? So,
yeah. And for me, you were talking about spiritual gifts, and mine every time comes up as service. And I truly enjoy helping and serving people. And I still struggle with this today, honestly, to make sure that I'm not putting everybody else's needs and everybody else's, desires above mine. That I make time for Kristen and I figure out what that looks like. So COVID has definitely given me some pause and been able to think about that a little bit more. But it's just, it's how I think God wired me. It's just to, really want to be able to serve and help. But like you said, there still has to be balance. There has to be boundaries, and I have to figure out, how to take care of me.
Yeah. That's good. And I guess we all have that same problem. And just knowing you all personally, I definitely know that what you said is very true. And I have the same issue too. And I think mine just goes back to, and of course it's deeper, but I am most fulfilled when I'm helping somebody else, knowing that they could never repay me. Now I can help you. And then if I know you can give it back and stuff, it feels good. But when I know you can never repay me, and I'm not saying that the person knows that I did it. It might be a word or being there for them, but knowing that it's not something that they can tangibly give back to me, that's when I'm most fulfilled. Yeah. And so I'll drop something I'm doing to do it for other people, to do something for other people. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning the art of no. And I have been really practicing it as Jermichael, and I don't think he liked it too much. But I've been learning the art of no, but it's still hard. And I still don't say it enough, but it is hard. And even when I say no, I'll say no and talk mad stuff and still go do it anyway a lot of times. But I'm really at that place in my life where the self-care is very important. And I know that at the end of the day, I do all this stuff for everybody else. And then I'm laying in bed at night stressed out because I didn't get what I needed to do done.
That part.
Part of why my book not done. It isn't out there. And so, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about this last one. We're right at our time, but we can go over a little bit because I do want to kind of finish this. So we're going to talk about the third phase of transition, and that third phase is beginnings. So coming out of transition and making a new beginning, you get to develop the new identity. What is that going to look like now? You have the opportunity to develop something new. I think about when I was back in college, how you had girls that you may have, this is just an example, went to high school with who were very friendly with the boys, and we all know what that meant. And then they get to college and they turn into these ladies and the boys, and they end up getting married and stuff. And the boys had no idea what they were doing in high school, which is not important because people can change. However, what I'm saying is because they had that new beginning, it allowed them to create their new identity. They could be who they wanted to be. You know, I even remember going to college with a girl, and the girl, she ended up pledging a sorority. And I mean, she mini skirts and she was popular and all, I mean, she was just out there. And then come graduation, everybody walked by her, didn't know who she was because her parents was there for the graduation and she was covered from head to toe. All you could see with her eyes. And we was like, who is that? So, I mean, when you're away, I mean, you know, when you have a new beginning, you can create the identity. And a lot of times, unfortunately, I don't think that too many people, I don't think that everybody takes advantage of that. You know, takes advantage of being able to create this new identity. And saying a new identity, I'm not saying that you become this totally new person that acts differently, acts brand new, don't know anybody, you know, and you're better than anybody, but you are able to say, hey, I want to be better. This is what I can do to be better, and become that new person. And let me go through these other ones, and then we can talk about it, and then we'll close out. You can experience new energy and motivation in new beginnings. That's true. I think about relationships, the beginning of the relationships. That was one thing from here. Let me keep going. I'll talk. Experience and discover a new sense of purpose that makes the change work. And then the beginnings can also be scary. Just because it's a new beginning doesn't mean that it's not scary. It can be very scary. But you have to be brave enough and have enough courage and trust God enough. If you can trust God through the ending and through the in-between, the neutral zone, then why can't you trust him in the beginning?
Amen. I love new beginnings.
I do too.
I do. New beginnings make me feel like dating. You know, when you first start dating somebody and you're so excited and you got butterflies and you just like, oh, yeah. That's what new beginnings are for me. So if I'm, you know, it can be with my job, it can be at home. Like, again, we just relocated and we got rid of so many things, and we are now totally just getting new furniture. And I'm so happy every morning I wake up. I'm like, ooh, where are we going today? We're going to Home Goods. We're going, like, where are we going? I'm so excited. So, and it's interesting too, because I had been asking God specifically these last couple of months that I wanted newness in my life, that I had just been so consumed with so many other things over these last couple of years, holistically, my body, my mind, you know, my health, all of that I was like, Lord, I just need newness. I just need a breath of literally a breath of fresh air. I need newness. And so that has been coming up for me. Even when you text me this morning or last night, Dewan, and said, hey, you want to? Yes, I do. This is exciting to me. Like, I've been happy about this all day. This is something new, but I enjoy it. So new, and I don't know what can come from it, but I know God knows the desires of my heart. Mm-hmm. So it's preparing me for something. Every time I get up and speak in front of people, since about a year and a half ago, I know that God is preparing me to do something, and I'm excited about it. I am scared, but I'm excited. Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. Did you want to say anything, Kristen?
Oh, no, it's good. I agree with everything she just said. From, you know, getting prepared to do this and feeling, you know, nervous and anxious and just, you know, wanting to make sure, you know, like you said, that I'm saying something that will help somebody. So having a mind, but being excited about it. I mean, I wanted to do it. It wasn't something that I didn't want to do. I wanted to do it. And so I was just kind of reliving everything she was saying and thinking about leading up to today. So it's good. Change can sometimes, like I said, it's not always easy. It's not always the butterflies, right? But it can definitely yield some really good results. So.
Agree.
Yeah, it's a couple pieces. I think I'm not sure yet. We might do a part 2. I'm not sure, because there's some more stuff I want to talk about, and some very important things, because it's going to really talk about we talked about the phases of it, but the next part actually talks about the steps to take. It's a whole process. It's a whole plan that you can actually take to get through and to go through that journey and to, to thrive on the other side of the shift. But we're not going to go into all that today. But everything you all said, I thank you. I do believe, like I said, with those new beginnings, I agree with you, Malika. It is nothing like something fresh, like a relationship. That's what I think of new beginnings as well.
Yeah.
Like those butterflies, the excitement. And when you're in a new relationship and things like that, you treat you talk to the person better, you treat them better, everything is great. The problem is that as people go through the process and when it's about time they get to the in-between, all that new beginning stuff is gone, and then they end up at the end again. So my prayer is that new beginning in whatever, and I'm not just talking about relationships, but that new beginning, because I'm still going to have an end. I don't know what the end is going to be, but I'm going to have more endings coming in whatever area. I don't know. Right. But I want to make sure that every step of the process, and even in that in-between time, that I'm getting the most from it. I'm learning those lessons that God wants me to learn. I'm growing as a person. I'm getting better. I'm treating people better. I'm impacting lives, all of that stuff. And so even just this live that we're doing, y'all know me, and especially Kristen. Well, Malika know too. Like, I did not want to do this. Like, I didn't. I was a nervous wreck. My Story Mondays were supposed to be 60-second to 3-minute clips of me talking about different experiences. And how I ended up doing these, I do not know. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, and then I didn't do it, and then I started getting people inboxing me, calling, wanting me to do it. And even when I do my weeks I don't do it, I get calls constantly. And so God was like, they're going to keep on asking you, because this is what I've told you to do. And not saying it's going to look like this all the time. This might just be something to get me out of my box, get me out of my comfort zone. Yeah. But thank you all so much, because you all make it so much easier. Otherwise, I'd be like this, look at everybody.
You know what this sounds like to me, though, Dewan? It sounds like God changed your plans and you have transitioned very beautifully.
Thank you.
So I love it. I love it. Like, I agree with Kristen. We are so happy to be a part of what you're doing. Like, this is great. I love it.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you all for joining. Let me see if I have any comments I want to talk on before we go. Pastor said, I am so proud of these 3 ladies. All 3 have impacted my life in so many ways. I love you all. We love you too. Miss Sharon said, Malika, I love the transparency. Sabrina said, well, that's me. I'm always doing for others and putting myself last. She said, I have realized that I'm no good to others if I'm not taking care of myself. That is very true. Sabrina is another one. She's definitely right when she says that. She's always doing for others. And because of that, she's been blessed abundantly right now. So I know she probably over there cutting a step right now. Dad said, fathers and those who care for their families go through this also. It's called responsibility, being able to properly respond. Yeah. And then Sabrina said, I appreciate this tonight because I'm experiencing a lot of new. Yes, you are. Thank you all for joining. Keisha, Mom, Miss Ballard, everybody, Kyra. Thank you all for joining. Be sure to share this live, because I'm sure that it is someone else out there that needs to hear this message, because especially with COVID going on, everybody, whether they want to or not, are experiencing all types of changes and transitions. And so this might be just a thing that they need to watch and hear in order to help them through the transitions of their life. Feel free to drop in the comments even after this is over, and we will respond to you. Last thing, I'm going to put in the chat a link to a couple of workbooks that I have created. One, and because we brought it up, self-reflection. One is a self-reflection book of like 51 questions that you can ask yourself, and it helps you to be more self-aware, and it's free. And then the other is a 2020 expectations workbook. And what that is, it goes along with the workshop, a vision boarding, expectation boarding workshop that I do. But it'll help you kind of start planning as we're in the last quarter of the year, help you plan the rest of your year, so that if it has not been everything that you wanted it to be, that you can still end it successfully and great, and you'll be ready to start the new year. So thank you all. Love you, ladies. Love you all
Yeah.
who are watching. And we will talk later. Oh, last thing. I will be posting. Last time we were on here, I did say that I was going to plan us a pajama party for ladies only. And so I have not said much about it, but I am going to be planning that. I think the date I was looking at was October 16th. Let me look. It's going to be on October 16th. It's going to be a Friday night. More information is to come. So make sure that you start going to get your PJs, ordering your PJs, or pulling the ones out the drawer and being ready, because we're going to have more discussions like this, and it's going to be a little more touchy-feely because it's going to be all ladies. So thank you all. Love you. And you have a good
Thank you.
All right. See you, Kristen.
Yeah, good to see you.
All right. Bye-bye.